Certainly. Here's a detailed and simplified summary of Dandin's life and works. Who was Dandin? Dandin was a renowned Sanskrit writer and poet who lived in India during the 6th to 7th century CE, particularly in Kanchipuram, a prominent city under the Pallava dynasty. He is best known for his contributions to Sanskrit literature, especially in the fields of poetry and literary criticism. Family background and early life. Ancestry. Dandin's great-grandfather moved from western Maharashtra to southern India, seeking better opportunities at the Pallava court. The Pallavas, like their contemporaries the Chalukyas, were keen on attracting educated Brahmins to enhance their social, human and religious capital. Family's role. Dandin's grandfather and father held prestigious positions at the Pallava court, possibly contributing to the projects of kings Mahendrava Narasimhavarman. Turmoil and loss. The stability ended when Chalukya king Vikramaditya Ghosh launched a revenge expedition leading to the sacking of Kanchipuram, the disruption of the Pallava court, and widespread destruction. Dandin, then a young boy, was orphaned and wandered for 12 years before reclaiming his family's position as a court poet. Major works. 1. Kavyadarsha, the Mirror of Poetry. Overview. This is one of the earliest surviving treatises on Sanskrit poetics, offering a systematic analysis of poetic principles. Content. Discusses 36 types of rhetorical devices, alankaras, that enhance the beauty of poetry. Emphasizes the importance of qualities, gunas, like clarity, sweetness and vigor in poetic composition. Introduces concepts like sarvalankara-dharatva, highlighting the comprehensive nature of poetic ornaments. Significance. Kavyadarsha became a foundational text in Sanskrit literary criticism, influencing subsequent scholars and being translated into multiple languages, including Tibetan and Kannada. 2. Dashakumaracharita, The Adventures of 10 Princes. Overview. Prose narrative that tells the adventurous tales of separated from their families, navigating through their quest for love and power. Content. Combines elements of realism with supernatural occurrences, providing a vivid portrayal of Indian society during Dandin's time. The narrative is structured into 3 parts: Purva Pitaka, Dashakumaracharita proper, and Uttara Pitaka. This work is engaging storytelling, complex characters, and insightful observations on human nature, setting a precedent for future prose narratives in Indian literature. Literary style and influence. Writing style. Dandin is recognized for his complex sentences, long compound words, and rich use of rhetorical devices, making his prose both challenging and rewarding. Influence. His works have had a lasting impact on Sanskrit literature, influencing later poets and scholars. Kavyadarsha, in particular, became a standard text for the study of poetics, shaping the development of literary theory in India. Legacy. Dandin's contributions to Sanskrit literature are profound. Through his poetic theories and narrative prose, he not only entertained but also provided deep insights into the human condition and the art of writing. His works continue to be studied and appreciated for their literary excellence and philosophical depth. If you're interested in exploring more about Dandin's works or their influence on later literature, feel free to ask. Absolutely. Here's a great detailed summary of the passage about Dandin, written in simple and clear language for full understanding. Detailed summary of the passage on Dandin. Dandin was one of the most brilliant and respected writers in the Sanskrit language. He lived in ancient India, and even today he is considered a legend in the world of Sanskrit literature. His writing was described as incredibly beautiful, so beautiful that people said it was like pure nectar, very sweet and perfect, and a jeweled mirror, shining and artistic, as if it were a playground for Saraswati, the Hindu goddess of learning and arts. This shows how deeply admired his style and talent were. Dandin's fame and influence were not limited to one place or time. He was mentioned in books and writings from 9th century Kashmir, North India, 10th century Sri Lanka, south of India, and 13th century Tibet, north of the Himalayas. This means that his reputation spread far and lasted for centuries, showing how widely people respected his work across India and beyond. Dandin wasn't just a talented writer. He was also a stylist. He wrote with beauty and elegance. A critic. He understood and judged good writing. And a theorist of style. He created ideas and rules about what makes writing beautiful. One of his most important books is called Kavyadarsha, which means mirror of poetry. This was a manual or guidebook where he explained how to write good poetry in Sanskrit. It became a very important book for poets in the Deccan region, central and southern India, many years after Dandin's time. Dandin also created some amazing works of literature, though sadly, some are now lost. One of his lost works was a very special poem that told the stories of both the Ramayana and the Mahabharata at the same time by using clever grammar tricks. Sanskrit is such a flexible language that it can allow a sentence to have two meanings. So with brilliant word use, Dandin was able to tell two epic stories in one poem. Among his surviving works, one of the greatest prose non-poem stories he wrote is about 10 brave princes who go on adventures to win back a lost kingdom. This story wasn't just entertainment, it was written to teach a young king, likely from the Pallava dynasty, about how to be a wise king, how to follow dharma, moral and righteous behavior, and life lessons from Dandin's own experiences, especially since Dandin had a hard life and was once a wandering orphan. This story also gives modern readers insight into the minds of rulers and elites from early medieval India, showing us what kind of values, strategies and decisions were important in that time. In short, Dandin was a master of Sanskrit writing, both in poetry and prose. His writing was seen as godlike in beauty. He was known across India, Sri Lanka and Tibet for centuries. He taught how to write poetry and also wrote clever and meaningful stories. His works give us knowledge about ancient Indian kingship, ethics and society. Even today, scholars admire Dandin as one of India's greatest literary minds. Let me know if you'd like a mind map, story-style version, or even questions and answers based on this summary. Here is a great detailed summary of the passage about Dandin's Dasakumaracharitam, India's clearest language. Summary: Dandin's Dasakumaracharitam. 1. What is the Dasakumaracharitam? It is a famous Sanskrit prose story written by Dandin, an important author in ancient India. The title means Tale of the 10 Princes. The book tells the adventurous stories of 10 brave and clever young princes who are trying to regain a lost kingdom. 2. What do the princes? The 10 princes go on many missions. They do things like flirting with flirting women, starting riots, troublemaking, stealing and killing, thievery and murder, pretending to be holy men or sages, bankrupting rich people, making rivals lose their money, overthrowing kings, removing bad rulers. 3. Are the princes bad or good? Even though their actions may look wrong, they are not shown as villains. They always make sure their actions help remove evil or corrupt kings, protect innocent people, support dharma, the moral path, or right duty, do wrong things for a right cause, which is a big theme in Indian literature. 4. Who are the villains in the story? The kings and enemies that the princes fight are usually cruel or unjust rulers, hated by their people, acting on revenge or selfish desires, weak or distracted by pleasures. These flaws make it easier for the princes to defeat them. 5. A moral dilemma in the story. One prince falls in love with a queen, who is another man's wife. He first holds himself back, worrying about breaking dharma. Then he thinks deeply and remembers what the scriptures say. If doing something gives Arthur material gain and pleasure, then it might not be sinful and could even lead to some dharma. So he finally sleeps with the queen and enjoys a night of passion. This shows how the story explores complex moral choices, not just simple good versus evil. 6. What is the bigger message of the story? The actions and decisions of the princes are warnings to bad rulers. If you're unjust or careless, people may rise against you. Examples of using intelligence and planning to fix wrongs. Deep lessons about Dharma. What is right and wrong isn't always black and white. Sometimes it's about balance and judgment. 7. A clever literary trick by Dandin. One prince tells a without using any words that require the lips to touch. So he avoids letters like P, B, M, etc. This shows how smart and artistic Dandin was, full of literary skill and playful challenges. Conclusion. Dandin's Kumaracharitam is a clever and adventurous story full of drama, trickery and moral questions. A mirror to real life, showing how people think, act and make choices. A guide for kings and leaders, telling them to be wise, just and careful. A work of great literature, full of creativity and deep meaning. Let me know if you'd like a short version, key point notes, or questions and answers based on this summary. Here is a great detailed summary of the passage you shared, written in very simple language with clear explanations. Detailed summary. After the earlier lessons of diplomacy and power struggles, the new Pallava king, a South Indian ruler, decided to stop fighting wars, especially with the Chalukya dynasty become powerful. Instead of wasting energy on revenge or battles in the Deccan region, central southern India, he changed his strategy. He turned his attention to trade and commerce, especially overseas trade, sending ships to other lands and forming trade links across the sea. This marked a shift from warfare to economic development. At the same time, the outside world was going through huge changes. In West Asia, the Middle East, Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, had died in 632 CE. After his death, the Arab tribes, who had earlier fought among themselves, united under Islam. These united Arab groups then began a massive wave of conquest that shocked the world. Their success was so great that even famous conquerors like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar looked less impressive in comparison. Even though the Arab armies were small, only in the thousands, extremely skilled and well organized. They took advantage of the fact that the two great powers of that time, the Romans and the Persians, were weakened from fighting each other for many years. The Arab forces quickly defeated them and took control of major regions like Iraq, Syria, Egypt, parts of the southern Mediterranean coastline. The reasons for these rapid victories were a mix of 1, religious faith. They believed they were spreading Islam. 2, tribal loyalty. They were united and fought together strongly. 3, desire for wealth. Like many medieval warriors, they also fought for loot, treasure, and power. In simple words, the new Pallava king was wise. He knew he couldn't win against a powerful enemy, so he chose peace and trade instead of war. While this was happening in India, big things were happening in West Asia. After Prophet Muhammad died, Arab tribes came together as Muslims and started conquering a lot of land very quickly. They beat big empires, Romans and Persians, even though their army was small. They were strong because of their faith, unity and desire for riches. This changed the whole world and created a new power in world history, the Islamic Empire. Let me know if you want this in bullet points, flashcards or a Q&A revision format. I can do all that too. Here is a summary of the passage you provided, explained. Detailed summary. Rise of the Umayyad Caliphate and its expansion towards India. By the year 644 CE, the Arabs had already conquered vast lands. To govern these territories effectively, they began setting up garrison cities, military towns where soldiers and officials lived. These cities helped them manage the huge empire they had rapidly created. In 656 CE, while Vikramaditya ended a civil war within the dynasty and declared himself fortune's favourite, the Arabs themselves entered a period of internal conflict, their first civil war. This internal conflict eventually led to the creation of a new political and religious ruling dynasty in 661 CE, the Umayyad Caliphate, which was based in Damascus, Syria. Under the Umayyads, the Muslim empire expanded even more rapidly. They took over the entire southern Mediterranean coastline, including North Africa. They conquered Spain and used it as a base to launch raids into France. They also moved eastward, taking over parts of the Silk Road trade routes, a network of routes connecting China to the Middle East and Europe. They wrestled control of important oases and towns from Turkic nomads in Central Asia. Their expansion was so powerful that even China, one of the strongest empires of that time, was forced to send its armies to challenge the Arab advance in Central Asia. In 708 CE, the Umayyad armies turned towards India. They launched attacks on the Indian subcontinent, beginning with the conquest of Sindh, a region in present-day Pakistan. An Arab governor led this campaign. He sacked, violently attacked and looted many important trading cities. He sent back an enormous treasure, 60 million silver dirhams, to the Caliph, the ruler of the Caliphate. This amount would be worth billions of dollars today. As a result of this wealth and growing influence, the Umayyad capital, Damascus, became a global center of trade, culture, and learning. People from across the Mediterranean, traders, explorers, and scholars came to Damascus, making it one of the most important cities in the world at the time. 644 CE, Arabs built garrisons to manage their vast empire. 656 CE, Arab civil war, Chalukya king Vikramaditya I rises in India. 661 CE, Umayyad Caliphate founded in Damascus after civil war. Rapid expansion, Arabs conquer Spain, parts of France, North Africa, and Central Asia. Even China responded militarily to Arab expansion. 708 CE, Arabs invade India, starting with Sindh. Arab governor sends huge loot, 60 million dirhams, to the Caliph. Damascus becomes a global hub of wealth, trade, and knowledge. Let me know if you want a timeline, a map-based explanation, a version in Q&A format, a child-friendly comic version, or flashcards for quick revision. Certainly, let me break it down in the simplest and clearest way, step by step. I'll cover every important detail of the story and explain it with as much clarity as possible. For one, situation in North India and the world. Tibet's attacks on North India. A new Tibetan empire had started causing trouble by raiding, attacking North India, but also creating problems for China. Arab conquest of Persia and Sindh. The Arabs, a group of people who had recently embraced Islam, conquered the powerful Persian Empire, today's Iran, around the mid-600s. After Persia, the Arabs moved eastward and attacked Sindh, which is part of present-day Pakistan, right on India's western edge. This attack shocked many in India, as Sindh was an important trading hub for India. Economic impact on India. The fall of Persia and Sindh was a huge loss for India. North India used to trade with Persia, and now that connection was gone. Economic shockwaves spread through the Indian subcontinent, especially in the Deccan, depended on trade in the ocean. 2. The Pallavas in southern India. Who were the Pallavas? The Pallavas were a kingdom in Tamilakam, South India, which included parts of modern-day Tamil Nadu. The Pallavas were ruled by powerful kings who controlled a lot of wealth and culture in South India, with their capital at Kanchipuram. Watching world events carefully. Although far from the chaos in North India, the Pallavas kept a close eye on the events happening in Persia and Sindh. They saw these changes as an opportunity to expand their influence, even though they were geographically distant from the conflicts. 3. The Pallava plan to gain power. Sending an embassy to China. The Pallavas sent an embassy, a group of people with a message, to the Chinese emperor. They brought gifts like leopard fur, which was exotic and rare, a talking parrot, an amazing, entertaining gift. Their goal was to impress the emperor and get his favor, pretending to be brave warriors. The Pallavas told the Chinese emperor that they wanted to fight the Arabs and protect the world from their spread. They also asked for a name for their imaginary army. The Chinese emperor, who didn't know that the Pallavas had no army ready for war, praised them for their bravery and gave their army the name, the army which chose. Virtue means good behavior, morality, and kindness. The Chinese emperor's praise. The emperor also sent an ambassador to the Pallavas and gave their king, Narasimhavarman II, the grand title of King of the Kingdom of South India. This made the Pallavas look even more important and respected in the eyes of the world. 4. What did the Pallavas really want, the real goal? The Pallavas didn't actually want to fight anyone. Their real goal was to get luxury goods from China, like fine silk and porcelain, secure trade agreements so they could profit from increased trade with China and other parts of Asia. Success of the Pallava plan. Thanks to the embassy's success, the Pallavas received the gifts and trade concessions they wanted. They also got a fancy title from the Chinese emperor, which raised their prestige and importance in the world. 5. The larger context. How the Pallavas played the game. The Pallavas were clever and understood that smart diplomacy, making good decisions in politics, was more useful than war. They took advantage of the changing times, where the Arab expansion and Tibetan invasions created a power vacuum, a time when no one is in control in certain regions. By using clever tactics, they gained prestige, luxuries, and hard trade without ever having to fight a battle. Final summary. North India faced invasions from the Tibetans and the Arabs, shaking up trade routes and economies. The Pallavas in the south saw an opportunity to increase their power and wealth without going to war. They sent an embassy to China, impressed the emperor, and received valuable gifts and trade agreements. Their plan was smart and peaceful. They got what they wanted by using diplomacy instead of violence. The Pallavas' success showed that brains and diplomacy can sometimes be more powerful than bravery and war. This strategy of diplomacy helped the Pallavas grow without getting involved in the conflicts around them. They showed that even though they were physically far from the action, they could still use their intelligence and cleverness to thrive. Would you like more background on the Pallavas or the Arab expansion? I can explain those too if you'd like. Here's a great summary of the passage you gave, explained in the simplest and me covering everything important step by step. Great detailed summary. South India, Southeast Asia, and the rise of the Sanskrit cosmopolis 700 CE. 1. Mahamalapuram and the rise of sea trade. Mahamalapuram, also called Mamallapuram, a port town in South India, Tamil Nadu, became a major hub for maritime trade in the 700 CE. This was remarkable because it had earlier been damaged by an attack from the Chalukya king Vikramaditya Bur in the 670s. But the port fully recovered, showing how powerful and well managed it was. From here, Indian ships trading fleets sailed across the Bay of Bengal into Southeast Asia. 2. Southeast Asia, new kingdoms and Indian influence. At this time, new and powerful kingdoms were forming in Southeast places like modern-day Cambodia, Indonesia. These rulers and elites, kings, nobles, wanted to show their power and status. Like the earlier Chalukyas of India, they used the prestige of Indian religion and culture, especially Sanskrit, to look sacred and powerful. 3. Sanskrit cosmopolis, the shared Indian cultural world. The Sanskrit cosmopolis was a big shared world of Sanskrit language, Hindu ideas, temple building, and rituals that spread from India to Southeast Asia. Taking part in this world gave kings religious and political power. Southeast Asian rulers joined this culture, but they also adapted it to their local customs, making it their own. This allowed them to reorganize their societies and economies in ways that helped them stay in power and grow richer. While the north was in trouble, the south was thriving. In the 720 CE, North India was facing wars and invasions from the Arabs in the west and Tibetans in the north. Even China was nervous about these attacks. But at the same time, South India and Southeast Asia were peaceful, safe, and prospering. Their kings and courts were becoming wealthier, focusing on culture and trade, not war. At 5. Peaceful competition. Temple building instead of war. Two major South Indian dynasties, the Chalukyas and Pallavas, had fought wars in the past, but now, instead of fighting, they competed by building huge, beautiful temples. This was a peaceful and cultural form of competition. 6. Grand temples as symbols of power. In this period, the famous Shore Temple at Mahamalapuram was built by the Pallavas. A huge new temple dedicated to Lord Shiva was also built in Kanchipuram. The Pallava queen gave large donations to temples, and her name was carved on temple walls to honor her. At 7. Influence on others. Queens observing queens. A queen named Chalukya Mahadevi from another powerful South Indian kingdom likely watched these developments closely. She too would later build grand temples, showing that even royal women played a key role in this cultural movement. Conclusion. What this all means. The 700 CE was a time of great peace, prosperity and culture in South India and Southeast Asia. Indian influence, especially through Sanskrit, temple building and rituals, spread to Southeast Asia. Trade, religion and architecture became tools for kings and queens to show power, connect with other regions, and develop their countries. While North India faced wars, the South led a peaceful cultural revolution, helping form a connected world of Indian-inspired traditions. Let me know if you want this in a shorter version, a story-style version, or turned into a study chart or mind map. Here's a great detailed summary of the entire passage you shared in the simplest and clearest way possible, perfect for full understanding and revision. Detailed summary: Vikramaditya's attack on the Pallavas. Background. In the early 700 CE, South India had two major kingdoms. The Pallavas, ruling from Kanchi in modern Tamil Nadu, the Chalukyas, ruling from the Malaprabha Valley in modern Karnataka. For about 40 years, there was peace between them, but that changed after the death of the Pallava king. 1. A perfect chance to attack. The strong Pallava king, Narasimhavarman II, died. His son, Parameshvaravarman II, became the new king, but he was young and still learning how to rule. This made the Pallava kingdom vulnerable, weak and easy to attack. Vikramaditya, the Chalukya crown prince, and his wife Chalukya Mahadevi saw this as the perfect time to attack. 2. Who was in charge of the Chalukyas? The actual Chalukya king, Vijayaditya, was old and very sick by this time, so Vikramaditya and his wife had been handling power for more than 10 years. They wanted to prove their strength to their own people, collect wealth from war to build temples and show religious leadership. Show other smaller kings that the Chalukyas were still the top power. War begins. Vikramaditya led a combined army, his own Chalukya troops, allies like the Gangas, who also hated the Pallavas, other local rulers who were part of the Chalukya empire. They carried the Chalukya banner with a boar symbol. They marched into Tamilakam, Tamil-speaking land, the Pallava area. 4. Pallava defeat. The young Pallava king was defeated in battle. He was humiliated and forced to pay a huge ransom, a large payment in gold, jewels, etc. This was to stop Vikramaditya from attacking and capturing the Pallava capital, Kanchi. 5. Triumphant return. After the victory, Vikramaditya returned home to Malaprabha Valley. He was treated like a hero. He went to his frail, sick father, the king. He lectured royal items from the Pallavas: flags, crowns, jewels, musical instruments. This showed he had conquered their enemy and brought honor and glory back to the throne. What this means. Vikramaditya showed he was a strong leader. The peace between the two kingdoms ended after 40 years. The Chalukyas became more powerful, but both militarily and religiously. Temple building and war were used as tools of politics and image building in ancient South India. Would you like me to turn this into a mind map, timeline, flashcards, or a short story version for easier memory? Here is a great, detailed, and very simple summary of the passage. A detailed summary, language possible. After losing a war to Prince Vikramaditya from the Chalukya dynasty, the Pallava king felt very ashamed and angry. To take revenge and recover his power, he attacked a smaller kingdom called the Gangas, who were allies of Vikramaditya. But this attack turned out to be a huge mistake. The Pallava king was killed in the battle. His sudden death caused a big crisis in the Pallava kingdom. People in the court started fighting among themselves, trying to decide which royal child should be the kingdom able. Meanwhile, for Vikramaditya, everything was going really well. In ancient India, dharma, doing what is right and your duty, was very important. Poets like Dandin wrote beautiful stories about these values. Vikramaditya believed he had done his royal duty dharma. He felt he had protected his family's honor, defeated a powerful enemy, made his kingdom stronger. Also, his enemy had made a foolish attack and died, so Vikramaditya didn't have to worry about him anymore. This made Vikramaditya look even more strong, wise, and lucky. His military campaign to Kanchi, the Pallava capital, was a huge success. Everyone saw him as a hero and future king. No one questioned his right to the throne. So when his father died in the year 733 CE, Vikramaditya became king. People called him Fortune's favourite and Earth's beloved, showing how much they admired him. He was now seen as the most powerful Chalukya king so far. But soon, the world around him started to change very quickly. New events were happening that he didn't expect. These changes would force Vikramaditya to rethink his plans and priorities as king. Main points in bullet format for easy recall. Pallava king, angry after defeat, attacked the Gangas. He was killed. His kingdom fell into confusion. Court factions fought over choosing the next ruler. Vikramaditya felt proud, believed he fulfilled his dharma. He had protected family honor and defeated an old enemy. The Pallava threat disappeared on its own. His campaign to Kanchi was a major success. No one doubted his right to be king anymore. Became king in 733 CE after his father died, called Fortune's favourite and Earth's beloved. He was the strongest Chalukya king so far. But new, unexpected events were coming that would challenge him. Would you like this turned into a visual diagram, timeline, or Q&A format to make it easier to memorize? Here is a great detailed summary of the entire passage in the simplest language possible. Detailed summary in simple words. 1. Why did the Umayyads come to India? In the 1100s, 8th century, the Umayyad king of a large Islamic empire based in the Middle East, especially Iraq and Syria, wanted to expand his kingdom into India. His empire was facing many problems and wars, both inside and outside. He needed a lot of money to pay for those wars. He thought India was a rich land with many wealthy cities, gold, temples, and treasure, so he wanted to attack and take control. 2. How did they start attacking India? The Umayyad army started attacking parts of northern and western India. India was not united at that time. Many small kings were fighting each other. The Umayyads used this chaos to their advantage. They also made deals with some Indian rulers and pirates who were greedy and wanted money. Even some Hindu kings, like those from Kashmir, helped them in looting places like Kangra Valley. 3. Which places did they loot and conquer? With help from Indian allies, they burned and looted cities and temples, attacked important places like Kangra Valley, Barma, called Valamandala, Jaisalmer, called Maramala. Areas near Ahmedabad, Saurashtra and Bharuch even came near Ujjain in central India. They robbed temples, took gold, and captured people. 4. What was the result of their attacks? The Umayyads got a huge amount of wealth, estimated at 250 million silver coins, worth billions today. Thousands of innocent Indian people, men, women, and children, were taken as slaves and sent to Syria and Iraq.
5.
How did Indians react? At first, the Umayyads had easy success, but very soon the Indian people learned how they fought and began to fight back fiercely. Big regions like Gujarat, Rajasthan and Sindh rose in rebellion. These revolts were so strong, bloody and costly that the Arab soldiers got scared. They refused to fight in India again. They demanded to leave the country and never return.
6.
What did the Caliph do then? Even after such heavy losses, the Caliph refused to give up. He still believed that victory was possible if he kept sending more men, but in reality, the Indian resistance was too strong. Final thought, main message. The Umayyad Caliph wanted to conquer India for its wealth and tried to use Indian allies and pirates to help him. They caused a lot of damage, looted many cities, and took many people as slaves. But the Indian people fought back bravely, and the invaders failed to keep control. This shows the strength of Indian resistance and how greed and betrayal led to temporary success but not lasting power. Let me know if you want a map of places mentioned, a character list, or a timeline of events. I'm happy to create any version you want. Here is a great detailed summary of the passage you shared, written in simple and clear language, covering all key points and background. Detailed summary. In the year 731 CE, India was facing serious challenges from foreign invaders. At this time, Vikramaditya II, the prince of the powerful Chalukya Empire in South India, was busy trying to prove that he was a capable and strong leader. He was doing this by attacking the city of Kanchi, which belonged to another powerful kingdom, the Pallavas. While Vikramaditya was focused on this battle, something dangerous was happening in the northwestern part of India. The Umayyads, a Muslim empire based in the Middle East, sent more troops, reinforcements, to a region called Sindh, now in modern Pakistan. The Umayyads, known in Indian sources as Tajikas, had already tried to conquer parts of India before. Now they wanted to try again. Even though the Umayyads battles two small Indian kings called princelings earlier, they managed to take back parts of Gujarat. Confident again, they decided to expand further and attack new regions that had never seen their presence before. They began moving southward along the coast of Gujarat, heading areas controlled by rulers called the Chalukyas of Lata. These Chalukyas had lived in that region for generations. They were originally placed there by Vikramaditya I, a former king of the Chalukya dynasty. So by this time they had been defending the area for a long time. These Chalukyas of Lata were smart and careful. For the last 10 years they had been studying how the Umayyads fought. They watched the mistakes made by the northern Indian kingdoms and learned from them. They were quietly preparing for a possible invasion. But while they were getting ready, they were also left to face the danger alone. Vikramaditya II, who should have supported them, was too focused on his war with the Pallavas in the south. So the Chalukyas of Lata had no help when the Umayyads began moving toward them. The Umayyads were not coming just for Gujarat. They had big dreams. Their plan was to conquer all of southern India and defeat every major kingdom in the Deccan region. But this time things were different. The Indian kingdoms were ready. They had seen what the Tajikas had done in the past, and they had prepared to fight back. Key points recap, bullet format. 731 CE, Vikramaditya II attacked Kanchi to show he was a strong ruler. At the same time, the Umayyads sent more troops to Sindh to continue their expansion into India. Despite earlier defeats, they reconquered parts of Gujarat. They then moved south along Gujarat's coast, heading into new areas. Their target, lands of the Chalukyas of Lata, old defenders of the Chalukya Empire. These Chalukyas had studied the Umayyads' tactics and learned from the past. Vikramaditya II didn't help them as he was busy in the south. The Umayyads planned to conquer all southern Indian kingdoms, but now the Indian kingdoms were prepared to fight back. Let me know if you'd like this as a timeline, a map-based explanation, or in comic illustrated form to understand it even better. Here's a great detailed summary of the entire passage you asked about in very simple and clear language, while also adding a little background and explanation where needed. Detailed summary of the event. The Battle of Navsari, 737 CE. In the year 737 CE, a major battle took place in western India in a region known as Lata, which is part of modern-day Gujarat. This area was ruled by a branch of the Chalukya dynasty called the Lata Chalukyas. The leader of this region was Pulakeshi Raja, a relative, specifically a distant granduncle, of the more famous king Vikramaditya II, who ruled over the main Chalukya Empire. Pulakeshi Raja may have been named after his grandfather, the legendary Pulakeshin VI. At this time, Arab Muslim forces, known in the Indian sources as the Tajikas from the Umayyad Caliphate, were invading parts of India. They had already entered Sindh and Gujarat and were looking to expand further southward to loot and conquer rich Indian kingdoms that had never seen Arab armies before. Their next target was Navaka, modern Navsari, in Gujarat, a wealthy port city and capital of Pulakeshi Raja's territory. It was an important trade centre and the Arabs wanted to capture and plunder it. But Pulakeshi Raja had been watching and learning from how the Arabs fought. Even though the main Chalukya army under Vikramaditya II was busy fighting the Pallavas in the south, Pulakeshi had to face this threat on his own. He had a clever idea of the route the Arabs would take to reach his city, but the Arabs didn't know what kind of defense Pulakeshi had prepared. We don't know all the details of his plan, because the only record we have is a land grant Pulakeshi made after the battle to commemorate his victory. But from the words in that grant, we can get an idea of what happened. What the land grant tells us, the document details Arabs as strong and brave warriors who had never been defeated by other Indian kings before. Great swordsmen who had fought in war, elephants, which were like Indian warfare. Their horses charged so fast that they raised huge clouds of dust, showing how powerful their cavalry was. Despite their strength, the Indian army, especially the Deccani infantry, foot soldiers from the Deccan region, fought back fiercely. The battle was very long and brutal, involved close combat and head described as a massacre with blood-soaked armor, spear attacks, and even elephants being killed. Eventually, Pulakeshi Raja's forces won the battle. This victory was a huge moment in Indian history because it showed that local Indian powers could push back against the powerful Arab invaders who had been winning many battles until then. Why this battle is important. 1. Stopped Arab expansion into southern India. This was the farthest the Umayyads could go at that time. 2. Showed how regional Indian powers, even without support from their main emperor, could defend themselves successfully. 3. Pulakeshi Raja became a hero. He learned from other kingdoms' defeats and prepared a strong defense. 4. The land grant not only celebrates victory but also shows respect for the enemy's strength, which was rare and shows how serious this threat was. Final summary in one paragraph. In 737 CE, when Arab Tajika forces tried to attack the rich port city of Navsari in Gujarat, Pulakeshi Raja, a brave Chalukya prince, stood against them. Though he had little support from the central Chalukya Empire, he prepared a smart plan, watched the enemy's tactics, and led his soldiers into a tough, bloody battle. After hours of fighting, the Indian army defeated the Arabs. This was a major success in defending India from further Arab invasion, and Pulakeshi's bravery was recorded in a land grant made after the battle. This event marks one of the most important early military resistances to Arab expansion in India. Let me know if you'd like a timeline, map, or flashcards to help remember this better. Alright, let's break this down simply, step by step, like your Pulakeshi Raja's big win and why it was so important. 1. Who was Keshi Raja? He was a relative of King Vikramaditya II. He ruled a part of the Chalukya kingdom called Lata in present-day Gujarat. He defeated the Tajikas. This was the Indian word for Arab Muslim invaders. What happened? Around the year 737 CE, the Taj tried to attack and loot his Navsari, the port in Gujarat, but Pula and his army fought them off bravely and won. 3. Why was this so important? This stopped the Arabs from moving deeper into South India. It saved the Deccan region, middle part of India, from being attacked or ruled by the Umayyads. 4. What else was going on in the world at that time? The Umayyad Caliphate, a big Muslim empire based in Syria, was facing many problems. They lost battles in Persia and Central Asia to Turkish tribes. They were defeated in France in 732 CE by the Franks' Battle of Tours. They were having civil wars and revolts at too. The Umayyad dynasty soon collapsed and a new empire took over. The Abbasid Caliphate. 5. Why was this bad for Vikramaditya Segu? Vikramaditya Segu was the king of the Chalukya Empire. He wanted to be seen as a hero, someone who protected India from outside threats. But he didn't fight the Tajikas. Pulakeshi Raja did. So now, everyone praised Pulakeshi, not Vikramaditya. People started to think, if a vassal junior king like Pulakeshi can protect the kingdom better, then what is the emperor doing? This weakened Vikramaditya's fame and made him look less powerful. In short, very simple summary, a local king named Pulakeshi Raja beat the powerful Arab invaders and saved South India. This was a huge win, like David beating Goliath. But it made the big emperor Vikramaditya look weak because someone else did the heroic job. This also happened while the Arab Empire, Umayyads, was failing all over the world, so it was part of a much bigger story in history. Let me know if you'd like this in visual format with maps or diagrams. Alright, let me now explain this in the simplest and clearest way. Like you're a total beginner and I'm your best teacher ever. We'll go step by step, line by line, using easy words, examples, and zero confusion. Pulakeshi Raja's glory and power after victory. 1. Vikramaditya II had to calm Pulakeshi down. After Pulakeshi Raja defeated the Tajikas, Arab invaders, he became very famous and powerful. The emperor, Vikramaditya, was a little worried. He didn't want Pulakeshi to break away or try to become emperor himself. So he decided to make Pulakeshi feel important and respected by giving him special titles. 2. What were the 4 titles Pulakeshi got? Each title was like a medal or honor badge meant to praise him. 1. Dakshinapatha Sadara, pillar of the Deccan, like saying, you are the strong support of South India. 2. Chalukya Kula Alamkara means ornament of the family, like saying you are the shining star of our royal family. 3. Anivakani Vartitri means the one who stopped the unstoppable, refers to how he defeated the Tajikas, who no one else had beaten before. 4. Prithivi Vallabha means beloved of the earth. This was actually the imperial title used by Chalukya emperors. Giving this to Pulakeshi was a huge deal, like sharing the emperor's crown. And 3. But Pulakeshi wanted more, tasted glory, praised him, and he felt powerful. He didn't stop there. For Pulakeshi praised himself with new inscriptions, stone writings. He had official messages written on stone. In them he praised his own family branch, gave himself, his father and his brother royal titles after the victory. Said that the goddess of royal fortune had chosen him as her husband. This was a symbolic way of saying, I am the chosen king. 5. Pulakeshi copied earlier king tricks to look royal. In the past, Chalukya kings, like Pulakeshi's ancestors, had brought important Brahmins from North India to make their rule look holy and true. Now, Pulakeshi did the same thing. He brought Brahmins from Karnataka, his homeland, to Gujarat where he ruled. This made his rule in Gujarat look blessed and official. 6. He started acting like a real king. Pulakeshi didn't stop at victory. He started to grow his kingdom. chased away the last of the Tajikas from Gujarat, tried to take over areas that the Tajikas had left behind. It looks like he may have even planned to become the king of Vatapi, the Chalukya capital. In the simplest summary, tiny story version, Pulakeshi Raja beat the powerful invaders. He became a hero. The Emperor Vikramaditya didn't want him to become too proud or leave the empire, so Vikramaditya gave him cool royal titles to keep him happy. But Pulakeshi wanted more. He called himself the Chosen One, brought religious leaders to bless his rule, and tried to act like a real king in Gujarat. He even started thinking of taking over more land, maybe even becoming emperor himself. Let me know if you want a diagram, character chart, or story-style version of this too. Here's a great detailed summary of the clearest way possible, written like a smooth story, so even someone with no background knowledge can easily understand.
Dash summary.
In ancient India, during the rule of the Chalukya dynasty, a major power struggle was taking place within the royal family. The emperor at that time was Vikramaditya II, who ruled from the Chalukya capital, Vatapi, modern Badami in Karnataka. But his authority was being challenged not by an outsider, but by his own grand Pulakeshi. Pulakeshi gained fame and glory by defeating Arab invaders in Gujarat, a region in western India. After his victory, Pulakeshi began behaving more like an emperor himself. Even though he was only supposed to be a vassal, a junior ruler under the emperor, he gave himself and his family royal titles, claimed that the goddess of royal fortune had chosen him as her favorite, and started acting as if he was the rightful ruler of a separate empire. This was a serious threat to Vikramaditya II, but because Pulakeshi was his elder family member, the emperor couldn't attack him directly. Pulakeshi also cleverly kept showing fake respect in public by calling Vikramaditya the Great Vallabha, though he probably didn't mean it sincerely. So, Vikramaditya came up with a smart three-part strategy to protect his power and the unity of the Chalukya Empire. One part of that plan was to support another young leader who could act as a counterbalance to Pulakeshi. That young leader was Danti Durga, a grandnephew of Pulakeshi and the ruler of a smaller kingdom belonging to the Rashtra. Danti Durga ruled land in Maharashtra near modern-day Elichpur, Amravati region. His kingdom controlled an important road called the Dakshinapatha, which connected northern and southern India for trade. This made his position very strategic. Unlike Pulakeshi, Danti Durga was loyal to the emperor. He declared himself a servant of the empire, using the title Mahasamanta Adhipati, which meant High Lord among vassals. Because of this loyalty, Vikramaditya helped him grow in military and political strength, and gave him two powerful titles, one Khadgavaloka, meaning sword sight, showing his bravery and warrior spirit, two Shri Prithivi Vallabha, a royal imperial title, usually kept only for emperors, showing deep trust. By giving such a high title to a young and distant vassal, Vikramaditya was showing how desperate and serious the situation was. He needed to keep control over the northwestern region, Gujarat and Maharashtra, and stop Pulakeshi's growing independence. In short, Vikramaditya II used indirect power by raising a rival to keep his empire together instead of going to war relative. This was a smart political move to maintain balance, loyalty and control in a time of family conflict and shifting power. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a story map, timeline or comic-style visual summary for easier learning. Absolutely. Here's a great detailed summary of the passage, explained clearly and completely, with all key events and meanings covered. Detailed summary: Vikramaditya II's campaign against the Pallavas. Context: during the reign of Vikramaditya II, the Chalukya Empire faced a time of challenges and changes. One of the western regions, Lata, in modern Gujarat, had withdrawn from Chalukya control, which meant the empire's hold in the northwest was weakening. To maintain his overall authority and to ensure the loyalty of his southern allies and vassals, Vikramaditya II decided to launch a military campaign, this time against the Pallavas, a major rival dynasty in the south. Opportunity for attack. The Pallava kingdom was already in internal trouble. A child from a collateral side branch of the Pallava royal family had been made king. This led to civil war, with different factions fighting for power. Eventually, the child king managed to keep the throne, and by the time Vikramaditya attacked, the boy had become a teenager. But the kingdom was still politically weak and vulnerable after the internal conflict. So, Vikramaditya saw this as the perfect time to strike, when the Pallavas were not in a strong position to fight back. And Danti Durga's possible involvement. Danti Durga, a rising figure who would later establish the Rashtrakuta Empire, may have joined Vikramaditya's campaign. He might have met Vikramaditya's heir and promised to be a loyal vassal in the north. This would have been an early political alliance that strengthened Chalukya control over the northern areas. The campaign and victory. Vikramaditya's forces defeated the Pallava army easily. The phrase used was swatting aside, meaning it was not even a difficult battle. As war trophies, he captured huge musical instruments used in war, a drum named Roar of the Sea, a trumpet called Harsh Sounding. These instruments were important because they were symbols of royal and military power, used to inspire troops and scare enemies. He also captured famous war elephants, crucial in Indian warfare, a large number of rubies showing the wealth gained from the victory. March toward Kanchi. After the victory, Vikramaditya advanced towards Kanchi, the capital of the Pallava kingdom. The people there were terrified because long ago, another Chalukya king named Vikramaditya, likely his grandfather, had attacked and looted Kanchi. The memory of that event was still strong, so they expected the worst. A new kind of message, honor and restraint. But Vikramaditya II wanted to send a different message this time. Instead of destroying the city, he acted with honor and restraint. He wanted to prove his strength, but also show that he was a noble, generous, and civilized king. This action was a part of the symbolic side of warfare in medieval India, where war was not just about winning, but also about showing character, honor, and royal dignity. This is an example of chivalry, a concept where even warriors showed respect to defeated enemies. Key themes and lessons. 1. Strategic thinking. Vikramaditya chose the right time to attack when the enemy was weak and distracted. 2. Politices. Possible support from Danti Durga, hints at being formed early. 3. Symbolism in war. Capturing musical instruments shows that kings wanted to send messages through their victories. 4. Honor over brutality. Unlike other kings, Vikramaditya showed that power could be expressed through mercy and self-control, not just violence. 5. Medieval warfare culture. The passage shows that war in ancient India had not just swords and armies, but also ceremony, tradition, and honor codes. Would you like me to turn this into a timeline, a mind map, or simplified bullet points for revision?